Welcome to the Entrepreneurs Helping Entrepreneurs podcast, brought to you by Cambridge Entrepreneur Academy. On today's episode, John Sortino and Myke Conley discuss what is an entrepreneur.
Okay, Myke, one of my favorite topics to talk about is what is an entrepreneur? Because a lot of people say, what is an entrepreneur? And I think it's the most misunderstood profession in the world because people who aren't one, people who are one kind of understand what it is, but people who aren't one think it's something different than what it is.
Right.
And a few things I want to point out about what you need. If you want to be an entrepreneur, these are some things that you don't need. You do not need a degree. So you don't need to go to a college and get a degree or high school that says that you're an entrepreneur. It doesn't do anything.
Yeah, there's no piece of paper that could say,
You're
now you're an entrepreneur.
Yeah, like with a doctor.
Right.
Yeah, nothing like that's ever going to happen. It's and if it does happen, it doesn't. It's dumb. You just wasted your money on that little piece of the thing. So you don't need a degree. Another thing is, you don't need to be smart. I mean, you don't need to have like this high IQ. I think I'm kind of smart, but I know smart people.
That's right. I say I'm good at what I do. But outside of my realm, please don't ask me to do anything.
Right. Yeah, so you don't really need to be the smart person. You don't need money. No. You don't need to come from a family with money. Some of my favorite stories about entrepreneurs who made a ton of money is in The Men Who Built America, that series. And these guys were, except for the guy that started the stock market.
Was it Schwartz?
No. But it talks about Rockefeller, Cornelius Vanderbilt, Carnegie.
Henry Ford.
No, the Wall Street guy. Henry Ford wasn't rich. But it talks about all these guys. Only one guy came from this particular world. What was it, stock? I want to say his name is Merrill Lynch, but it's not Merrill Lynch. But anyways, he's the only guy that came from a lot of money.
I can't remember.
But he's the one that figured out how to finance entrepreneurs through the stock market. So that's why he made all the money. But everyone else came from nothing. I mean, Rockefeller, father I think left home early. Lived in Ohio, and figured out that he could sell gasoline and turn oil into gasoline. I mean, that was his genius. And so these guys, everyone that I love about being an entrepreneur, you don't need money. That's the last thing that makes you an entrepreneur. Unless you're like on TV, like those guys on TV, they already got a lot of money. And they're investing in other businesses.
Yeah.
That's their business.
But a lot of people a lot of times it stops them, because one of the big questions people always ask me, I know, is when should I quit my job and go full time in entrepreneurship? And I go, well, don't quit your job, because to be a successful entrepreneur, it takes a lot of work. So if you go, I don't have enough time. Well, you may not be an entrepreneur, right? Or well. I don't make enough money at my job to fund my business. Well, no, because at the end of the day, a real entrepreneur gets it done no matter what. There's no such thing as the word no to entrepreneur. There's no can't to entrepreneur. Entrepreneurs look at any dilemma they face and they go, nothing can stop me because I'm going to get this done, right? Entrepreneurs are a unique group of people because of that, and we're a band of brothers and sisters because there's very few of us.
Well, see, I don't know if it's unique. I think the people that come up with the idea and do the whole part of it is unique. But I don't think the people that work with somebody who's coming up with an idea that wants to work with it are unique. I think there's 400 million worldwide people who say they're entrepreneurs. A lot of them fail. But I think that the reason why they fail is because they don't know what they're doing.
Right. I think the ones that fail are failing because they're working on the wrong things. And they're trying to do everything, right? So if you think about 400 million out of 7 billion people, right? It's a small community. But when you think about entrepreneurship on the whole, people either want to be an entrepreneur or thought about being an entrepreneur, right? And when you see the ones that succeed at it, they almost speak the same kind of language, and there's always like a positive attitude, and they don't see the negative, and they overcome obstacles, and they're never afraid to do the work, right? So if someone says they want to be an entrepreneur or calls themselves an entrepreneur and they don't want to do the work, you got to look at that too. but because, entrepreneurs embrace obstacles and challenges. That's the fun part about it. Like most entrepreneurs, yes, the reward is money, but that's not the thing that most entrepreneurs do it for. It's almost like they do it to figure this thing out. Like, how can I improve this thing? What can I be doing to make it better? It's like a big
Look,
puzzle.
I know I could succeed.
Right.
If I just did something a little bit different, I
Right.
know I could do this. And that happened with me in Teddy Bear. I kept saying to myself, I know I could do this. And the reason why I knew I could do it is because my grandfather did it.
Right.
And he could, he graduated from like 6th grade, and my dad didn't get a high school degree until well after, he had me and my brother. He got a the GED thing. But both of them had their own businesses, and both of them did well and supported their families very well. My grandfather had 3 houses. So I said, if he could do it, I could do it. And he must have struggled along the way because he didn't speak any English.
Well, see, it's funny that you said that because the reason when I fell in love with entrepreneurship, and I tell the story all the time, especially at colleges and in schools and different organizations I speak at, I fell in love with entrepreneurship at the age of 5. Like, in my house, before I could play my Nintendo, this was in the 80s, I had to read something. Now, my stepfather, he had a pest control business. So I would always go with him to different different houses and different businesses, and he would fumigate. And I was always fascinated by the fact that it would be, if the school was out, it would be during the day, right? And some guys were home, and they had nice cars, big TVs, and to me, they were like relaxing. But these were always business owners because I grew up in the Bahamas, but these were people that ran businesses in America, and during the day, they worked remotely. And I was like, I don't know what you guys do, but I want to be like that. So that's when I started. What I noticed was at those homes, they always had like business magazines, and they'd be watching the stock market. So I started asking them if I could, have these magazines, and they're like, oh yeah, take it. A 5-year-old kid asked for a magazine, they gave it to me, and I would go home and watch the stock market. But that's how I actually learned about guys like yourself with Vermont Teddy Bear, Myke Kittredge with Yankee Candle, Dave Klein with Jelly Belly Jelly Beans, the Ben & Jerry's guys, and Wally Amos from Famous Amos Cookies, and at age 5, learning about you guys. I'm sure there were more entrepreneurs out there, but I couldn't understand what they were doing. Like, I could understand teddy bears and candles and candy. I could get that. And I was like, man, this is what I want to be. And but that fostered a love for entrepreneurship. And I was like, the same thing you said, man, if these guys could do it, I could do it. And I was in the Bahamas. Right. So my dream became, okay, one day I want to have a successful business in America. That's where that dream happened. And no one could tell me that wasn't going to happen. Right. Because I knew I was always willing to do whatever amount of work it took to make that happen. So like now to be running a successful business on my own in America, and even greater to be working with you, who I considered a mentor, to teach entrepreneurship around the world, like that's entrepreneur to me, because there's nothing, there's no way that would work in any other arena, but because of entrepreneurship, it just everything just comes. Entrepreneurship rewards the person that's willing to put in the work.
Right, it does. Yeah, it's fun. Yeah, well, what is an entrepreneur? I think an entrepreneur is a person who just decides they want to be one, whether you're successful or not, whether you're happy or not doing it, whether you're good at it or not. The good ones stick with it,
right?
And they end up becoming really the happiest people you could possibly imagine. True. Because it does free you up from a lot of different things. And when you complete something, you don't really complete it, but when you build something that you're so proud of, and you look at it, and it's your name on the door, and people are working and whistling, there's no better feeling than that in the whole wide world. So it's something where you're building this thing, and you can actually. I think an entrepreneur is a person who controls their own destiny. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Whatever it might be, whether you're good at it or bad at it, you're controlling that you're bad at it.
Yep.
You're controlling whether you're good at it.
Because you make the decisions whether you want to improve or not. And what I like to say about entrepreneurship, and I said this in our first episode, an entrepreneur to me is someone that identifies a problem, comes up with a solution to that problem, mm-hmm. and then gets paid for that solution. They create a system to get paid. Right. Like when you look at what you did with the teddy bear company, the problem was, the teddy bears weren't made in America, mm-hmm. right? So the solution was to make the teddy bears in America, right? And now people paid you for that solution. They got these teddy bears when you switched it from a toy company to a gift. So the problem shifted. The problem was now, okay, it's Valentine's Day. I'm a guy. I need to get my girl a gift. What did I get her? And the solution was a Vermont teddy bear. I'm gonna call the number and send her a teddy bear. Now I look like a rock star, right? But you got paid for that solution. So all entrepreneurs that approach,
I think the definition. I want to tell you what the dictionary says. What
yeah, sure.
Which I completely disagree with.
Me too.
Okay.
Me too.
Right. First of all, it says an entrepreneur is a noun, of course. A person who starts a business and is willing to risk loss in order to make money. One who organizes, manages, and takes on the risks of a business or enterprise. Well, one thing I want to say about that thing, I think that getting married is more of a risk than an entrepreneur, okay? Or maybe driving a truck in the wintertime up here in New England.
That's risky.
I think that's risky. I think being a cop is risky.
Very risky.
I think being
Firefighter.
a firefighter, having a baby is risky.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of risky things out there, okay? So I don't think entrepreneur is really risky.
No.
But I do think if you don't know what you're doing, then it becomes. That's where I think the risk in order to lose money means that you don't know what you're doing. Because if you knew what you were doing, you wouldn't have that big risk thing in place.
I think and you said this before, it's more risky working for someone. Because any day that person can say, hey, you're done. It's over. You're fired. Bye. See ya. Right. So if
he's an entrepreneur.
I even got the hat to prove it.
He's got the hat. Right, there it is.
But this was another great episode. If you wanna work with John and I directly, you could always go to www.Cambridge Entrepreneur Academy, and we teach a lot of the stuff in greater detail in the academy. And you could also join our free Facebook group by going to www.entrepreneurshelpingentrepreneurs.com.
Thanks.
That's it.
Thanks for tuning in. If you like what you heard on this podcast, go to CambridgeEntrepreneurAcademy.com.